Today I'm going to catch you up on all the ambitious plans I had during last week's heat wave through the holiday weekend. So grab your current project, grab a beverage, and let's dive in. Welcome, friends. My name is Melissa. I'm the dyer behind Rising Tide Fiber Company. If you are new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back, friend. Today, let's talk about the things that I cast on last week and worked on over the holiday weekend, and what I may or may not have tackled on my July TBR list. I don't have any finished objects. I really was just casting on this past week. If you missed last week's video, it is available to you on my channel, but essentially I had a couple new projects I wanted to cast on, 3 to be specific, and gave an update on what I wanted to read during the month of July. So there are no finished objects because my goal was to cast on new projects and work on what I was already working on. So let's jump into things. I have, first up, you may remember that I said that I wanted to work on my on the Twisted Tea shirt by Briana Lupinno, and that is, for me, it calls for a US 5, but I'm knitting on a US 4, and I'm using Freckled yarns. Their summer book colorway is based off of the Cozy Fantasy Violet Thistle Weight is No Longer a Villain. Adorable book. I didn't pull mine off the shelf, so I can't show you, but adorable book, beautiful color. I had caked up all my skeins, and I did get that started, and believe it or not, I actually got all the way to my sleeve split. Now, I have only split 4 sleeves. I have 2 contrasting colors. The greenish one is like an odd frog colorway of theirs. The pinkish color is called Rosy Posy, and then the speckled yarn is the Violet Thistleweight colorway. And you can get this colorway as well. It is live through at least August 1st. It might go all the way through August. I don't know when the fall box comes out, so I don't know when this colorway will come down off their website, but it's available as long as we're still in the summer quarter. I started out with just 1 skein, and then as I got towards my last several raglan increases, the color, because of the way that it's dyed, and I should have known this as a dyer, it did start to not really pull. It was definitely flashing, where I was starting to get all the green in one spot, all the pinks in one spot. So I caught it early enough because I switched to a larger cord. So after I switched to the larger cord and I had my fabric a little more stretched out, I could see that we were going to move into some flashing. So to avoid that, I just tinked back a couple rounds and then started alternating skeins. I am really pleased with how this is coming out. I'm just using a helical knitting process, but I am really happy with the way this is working up. Helical knitting is not all that tedious. It's actually pretty simple. I just don't like working with 2 skeins. It is shaping up to be beautiful. I have now split 4 sleeves. Oh, I should mention that I've made some modifications. Because it's called the Twisted T-shirt, all of the ribbing is supposed to be twisted stitch ribbing, and I didn't want to twist stitches, so I didn't. I didn't use the, I think she calls for like an Italian cast on. I just did a regular old long tail cast on. I'm not even doing the raglan the same because that's supposed to have twisted stitches in it. I just was not interested in doing a lot of twisted stitches. I find twisted ribbing tedious, so I just did regular 1x1 ribbing instead. And to me, it looks fine. So quite pleased with how this is coming out. The colors are really beautiful. I'm thinking that I might have some yarn left over in this speckly colorway, and my hope is that I have enough for a pair of socks. I will have plenty of this green because though I originally was going to do the sleeves in green and trim them in pink and just do the pink with the green trim for the neck and the cuff, I think for continuity purposes, I'm going to do that for everything. And then the green, whatever I have left with the green, the pink, and the speckle will definitely turn into socks, even if it's their green socks and I somehow use the speckle and the rosy posy to do a play with stripes or something. So very pleased with how this is coming out. The other project that I had on my radar to cast on was the Avenue tank. This is a buddy knit I'm doing with Andrea of Crutcher Makes and Shannon of Shenanigan and Skeins. They both had started out doing a buddy knit for this, and I really wanted in on it. So they both said, come join us, and I just had to pick a color. And so I actually picked my August Summer Book Club colorway. This is the Romance Revival by Christina Lauren. This is my August book club pick. And so the colorway that I dyed for this is called Romance Revival. And it looks like this. I don't have a regular skein with me. I've already caked up my skein. So I made some really solid progress on this. I honestly was not sure how far I was going to get on this. I mentioned in last week's episode that I've been having a lot of arm trouble that is stemming from neck issues, and purling in the last few weeks has really aggravated that pain. So I was trying to avoid purling, and the way that you cast this on, you cast on the back for a portion, then you pick up, knit the front, pick up, knit the front, and then you do knit back and forth for quite a bit before you connect in the round. I didn't have so much of a problem, I think, because a lot of the back and forth, it's such a short swatch or swath of fabric. I did get to my sleeve, connecting my sleeves together, and so I am now in the round on this. There are two different necks. There's a V-neck and a crew neck for this. I have opted to do the crew neck version. I think Andrea and Shannon are doing V-necks. I could be wrong. I know that I suspect Shannon has put hers down because she is working on a lot of other pieces for Flock Festival. But I know Andrea is zipping right along. She's several inches past me, but we aren't too far off. I did try to catch up a little bit. So this is the Avenue Tank by Tori, if I didn't mention that. And this is also knit on a US 4. I am knitting mine in sport weight in, of course, the Romance Revival colorway. I am not alternating skeins. My skeins are pretty similar. So we're going to see how that plays out. And again, I'm in the round and round on both the Twisted Tea and the Avenue Tank. This is what I spent the majority of my time working on. Neither one of these projects were started the last time that we spoke. Now, I did record last Tuesday. It is Tuesday this week. You guys don't see it till Saturday. So this is a week's worth of knitting. Now, in all fairness, I was not spending any time outside with the dogs playing. Really, I would go out long enough to pick up their excrements from the yard, or like at 7 o'clock at night. I'd, try and water my vegetable garden and just kind of keep everything from dying in the scorched earth weather we were having here in the eastern part of the United States. And so I was spending a lot of time sitting. Not to say that I wasn't getting up, but like I had meal planned so that all my cooking was pretty much done before the heat wave came. I was getting up to say, do laundry or something, but even that I tried to keep at a minimum, just knowing that the electrical grid was going to be really, really strained. So I spent a lot of time just I wish I could say I wasn't vegetating, but it was a lot of vegetating, which is how I got this much knitting done. I normally don't have this much time to knit because I'm busy doing things around the house. I am a teacher, so I'm on summer break, but just kind of doing things around the house. I didn't dye any yarn. My dye studio is out in my garage. I'm not trying to dye by dyeing yarn, so it was not in the garage. So everything was really just being housebound. I mean, even my mom invited us over to my parents' house. They're about an hour away, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to come over for dinner tomorrow and swim in the pool? And I was like, no, but thank you. I don't want to go anywhere or do anything. It is way too hot. I don't want to swim in the pool when it feels like it's 100+ degrees outside. I did have a pair of Christmas socks that I wanted to cast on. I don't have anything to show. I did cast those on this morning. I had a doctor's appointment, and so I just took that sock set with me. I did cast on, but I'm only a couple rounds around in the cup, so there's nothing really to show. But I did get that started this morning, so maybe next time I will have more to show you. That's it for new cast-ons. I did work on one other project, and that is my honey petal cardigan. Again, this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It's also on a US4. There seems to be a theme. All of my projects right now are on a 4, except for the socks, which seems to be a sweet spot for me. I always thought 6 was my sweet spot, but 4 right now is where it's at. I am buddy knitting my honey petal cardigan with Tasha over at Frogget Yarns. We are both using the Holst garn. It is their yarn that is lamb's wool and cotton. I am doing mine in Putty and Ice Sea. I'm holding them together, and I have actually made a bit of progress. I did put a stitch marker in. Yeah. So I put in a stitch marker. You can see I worked on this last night. So I got maybe 1.5 to 2 inches done. I know Tasha had sent me a text saying that, I could pick mine back up because I had put mine down for a really long time so she could catch up. And she had been diligently working. I think she has about 4.5 inches. I do really love the way that this is knitting up. It is quite beautiful, the way that it's marling, because though the skeins do look, I think, pretty different. I think if we grayscaled them, they'd practically be the same color, but there is a subtle look to it in real life that I don't think the camera picks up. But it just makes that gray lean more blue, which is the aesthetic I was going for. So we'll see. Hopefully Tasha will update us in the next week or two on her progress as well. But I have a sneaking suspicion she has breezed right by me. And those are the 3 projects that I have really spent the most time invested in knitting, which takes me to what have I been watching. I spent my time, obviously, if I'm doing this much knitting, I spent some time catching up on YouTube knitting podcasts. There were several that I was about a month behind on just because I wasn't recording, so I wasn't spending much time on YouTube. So I did spend some time catching up with not just my friends who have knitting podcasts, but a few others. So that was kind of nice. But honestly, most of my time was spent knitting and reading. And a lot of that reading was through audiobooks. The first book I did tag team a little bit through reading hard copy and listening to, and that is Agnes Ogbert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. And this one is relatively new. This one takes place in Montreal, and it's a woman who's running a cat shelter, and in Montreal, she is being helped by this grouchy, magician slash sorcerer type thing. I think my sister really enjoyed this book. This is more like magical realism, and I like magical realism, but I didn't gravitate towards this one as much as I thought I would. I really was anticipating this book coming out, but it just didn't. I couldn't wait to be finished this one. Heather Fawcett is the author of the Emily Wilder series, the Encyclopedia of Fairies or whatever, that series, and I don't like that series. So I should have known that because I don't like the author's other work, and I shouldn't say that it's not that I don't like it, it's just not my cup of tea. This is a 3-star read for me. I could take it or leave it. I don't think I would ever read this again. But that's not to say that others won't eat this up. It's just not for me. I listened to Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. I know that this is I don't know, I want to say a Reese or a Jenna book pick. It's the July book pick for the Love and Stitches membership over with Nitty Natty. I thought I owned a copy of it because it was a book of the month pick, but I don't. But I did end up listening to it. I really enjoyed it. It has some moments that are a little bit slower, but it ultimately was a good book. I don't know that I would give it 5 stars. It definitely was more my cup of tea as we got towards the end of it. People are raving about this book, and now I kind of understand why. Then I did accomplish listening to one of the advanced audio copies of a new romance that just came out called Tropesick by Lauren Oakey. And this one seemed to be getting mixed reviews. I know that it did end up, I think, as an add-on with Book of the Month, and I was hesitant to get it, even knowing that I had a audio copy. I thought, well, maybe I could tag team it like I do with some of these other books. Though it was okay, it's another 3-star book for me. I did not really enjoy it. We were following these 2 writers, and they had been tasked to ghostwrite a novel for this famous author. And there ends up being forced proximity because she kind of basically forces them to stay at her mansion. And there's a cat that pulls all the tropes out of a basket. It deals with some heavy subjects like depression, addiction. I just think they were it tackled so many different tropes, and I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't as lighthearted as I would have liked it, being a play on romance tropes, whether that's romance tropes in books or like, Hallmark Christmas movies, those kinds of things. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy heavy topics in my romance novels. This one it couldn't balance the lightheartedness with the heaviness, and so I just didn't really enjoy it. The next book that I did finish, I had started last week when we talked, which was The 5-Star Weekend. Today is Tuesday the 7th. This comes out on Peacock as, I believe, a series on Thursday, July 9th. So by the time you're seeing this on Saturday or after, this will already be available on Peacock. This one kind of dragged in the beginning, but it really was just the setup of kind of introducing you to all the various characters and getting the lay of the land. And I did enjoy this one. The deeper we got into it, the more I enjoyed this. There's definitely some like rich people behaving badly type of things going on in this book. So it was I wouldn't say it was salacious, but definitely interesting. We're dealing with a woman who is famous, sort of like a Martha Stewart type famous in that domestic goddess sphere of influence. And her husband has suddenly passed away. She's having difficulty with her daughter who's in college, and she stumbles across this idea from someone else that she'll have this 5-star weekend, and it's inviting her best friend from all of the seasons of life. So like her high school best friend, her college best friend. But there is one woman that she met through like her social media website, and she invites that woman not knowing. So there is some messiness into this. It all kinds of ties up fairly cleanly in the end. But boy, is it a journey to get there with all the various backstories for each of the characters. So I did really enjoy this one, and I'm looking forward to the adaptation this next weekend. Then, because I fell in love with the Off-Campus series, it is my understanding that another series that revolves around sports called the Windy City series by Liz Tomforde. Tomforde. There's an E on the end. I'm just not sure how it comes into play. She has a 5-book series in her Windy City series, so it all takes place in Chicago, and that is being adapted for television as well. And I believe it's Amazon that snagged that one. Amazon seems to be doing a ton. I think they've tapped into the book girlies and their romance novels. So that one is due, I believe, to come out later in the fall. I haven't seen an exact date yet, but it is a 5-book series, and where Off-Campus was college hockey, this one is pro athletes. So they aren't quite as young. I'd say in this one, they were like in their 30s. First book is called Mile High, and we're following a professional hockey player, and the woman is a flight attendant on the team's private plane. And I have to say, when I started this one, I was like, I could not get into the main male character. I just was like, oh, he is too egotistical for me. But I think it was written that way at first, where you were like, oh, who is this douchebag? But you then start to see a softer, different side to him, and you do end up kind of seeing around the facade, I guess. It's my understanding in this series that, like, this first one was hockey. I think the next one is basketball. And each book is a different sport of a professional player. Now, obviously, the characters are all kind of interwoven. Like our female main character, her brother is a pro basketball player in Chicago. So the second book is following him. So there is some continuity, but it's supposed to be different sports. I did enjoy this book. I have requested the second one from the library. So that one, I should be starting that one here soon as well. But then I kind of switched gears and went down a rabbit hole with the whole Ellen Hildebrand. And so I listened to Winter in Paradise, which is the first in a trilogy. I must say, this was not one of her books that it was not at the top of my list, like, oh, I definitely want to read this one. But I gotta say, I really liked it. And it left you on just enough of, I can't even say a cliffhanger, but you're like, wait, what? And I just got the second one. Like, I had to request the second one via audiobook from the library, and it just came in this morning. So I really enjoyed Winter in Paradise. Then I moved on to Summer of 69 by Ellen Hildebrand. This one does take place during 1969, so we're dealing with the whole Vietnam War. This one was definitely a little bit heavier, but I did get invested in this one and I did really like it. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books that I knocked out in a week. But again, I'm sitting there knitting and listening to audiobooks. I will also say that I don't listen to them on regular 1.0 speed. Most of the time, I am listening on 2.0 speed, which means if the book is 12 hours long, I'm knocking it out in 6 hours. And again, I'm not turning on the television. I might start my day with an audiobook, then, lunchtime, I might turn on a podcast, then watch a few podcasts, but then in the evenings after dinner, I would revert back to audiobook. I also will listen to audiobooks like if I take a bath, I have the audiobook on. If I'm doing dishes in the kitchen, I have an audiobook on. If I'm outside with the dogs, my audiobook is in my pocket. Like I get through audiobooks really quickly because yes, I'm listening to them at a faster speed, but I'm also constantly listening to them. Like if you don't like doing housework, get yourself an audiobook and you would be amazed at how you kind of forget that you're doing housework. You just kind of start going through the motions and doing what you need to do because you're engrossed in what you're listening to. If you have an audiobook that you're really enjoying. I do have a couple of books that I am working through. I seem to be on an Ellen Hildebrand kick, which is fine. It's summertime. It kind of fits the vibe. They're not super light and fluffy. So I have started I wonder what that's about. So I have started the Hotel Nantucket. I do also have this in audio copy, so I am tag teaming this with the hard copy and the audiobook. Again, this is, you can probably see where there used to be a sticker here. This is just a book I got from thrift books for $5 or $6 in hardback. This one is, we're just following a gal who has taken on the hotel to run it as sort of like the hotel manager, but it is owned by someone else who renovated it. She hires all these random folks to work, and they're striving to, you know, become sort of like a 5-star resort location. But there's also a little bit of magical realism because we have a ghost in this book as well who really has it in for somebody at the hotel. So I am only a couple of hours into this, so I am intrigued with the whole ghost thing, to know where this goes. The other book I am reading is Wildflower by Becky Jenkinson. This is, I want to call this one cozy fantasy. We are in some kind of kingdom, and there's all these offshoot like villages or communities, and the girl that we are following, she has a bit of magic that she can infuse into flowers. She's kind of like a florist, and so people buy flowers from her for different reasons, and she kind of infuses a little magic in them to help them with whatever it is they need help with. But she's been getting requests for these really rare flowers. They're kind of anonymous requests, and so she has to kind of go on these quests for them. And I think one of her best friends is the prince, and he's supposed to be getting married, and you know, him and then one of his friends are really good friends with her, and they don't like her going on these quests by herself, and they tell her to keep away from this other guy. So it's a bit of, I think, a little bit of a love story. I haven't quite gotten that far into it, I don't think. This is an advanced copy of a book that comes out, I believe, like on July 14th, so next Tuesday. I'm reading it on my Kindle because I have an ebook copy of it to review. So I'm curious to see where that one's going to take us. It does have a stunning cover. And obviously, when I requested the advanced copy, you know, or they sent me, sometimes I get publishers will just send me an email and say, hey, you reviewed this book for us. What do you think about reviewing this book? And that may have been how I got this book. I can't remember. So I'll be interested to see how that one plays out. But those are the only 2 books that I have going. I have the Hotel Nantucket that I'm tag teaming, and then this advanced reader's copy. And that takes us into shop news. So the summer book club colorways are available all summer long. We just finished up with June. We finished Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. And today, our July book comes out. It is Love You More by Emily Giffen. Mine arrives at the end of the week. I did pre-order it. I'm very excited for this book. It's a stunning color. And then August is the romance revival. I did have an advanced reader's copy of this. Oh no, I think it was a reader's copy. I read it. I plowed through this book. I loved it. And of course, you can get the colorway for it as well. That is pretty much my week. I would love to know, what are you reading? What have you cast on recently? I'm always open to new ideas. Pulled out about 4 different quantities to make like teas or tanks of summer yarns. So I'm kind of perusing. So I'm curious what you might have either on the needles or what you think I might like on the needles. So until next time, friends, happy knitting and happy making.